Welcome to Life is a Journey with Dani. My name's Dani. I did want to go over for this first video some of my yard goals and how my yard looks. I know right now it is December 15th of 2020, so it's not much to look at right now, but this is like my ground zero point in my gardening goals. So let me take you around the yard. Starting from the front, of course now the leaves are pretty much gone, but I have crepe myrtles. 2 crepe myrtles here. Now these ones here are a very weird type of thing. Now again, I do have to let you know I'm in Central Texas. We are in zone 8A, I believe, for planting zone. This is a Texas mountain laurel. It is evergreen all year. These seeds here that are currently on there, they are in the spring, I want to say around April, they come out with a really beautiful purple flower. They only last approximately a week, and then of course then they turn to the seeds. But the plant itself is an evergreen. I've had the trees, pretty much I planted all my trees in 2004. So it's 16 years I've had plants in my yard. Prior to that, I really didn't have that much. It was just grass. So again, I have just the 2 mountain laurels. Now some of these trees I took as transplants because I saw them in the ground, and I'll be honest, I have no idea what some of these are. I just kind of transplanted and planted them. Now this one here, well, these two here, I believe is some sort of a pear. I'm trying to see if I can find the, they come up with some sort of a, this is kind of nasty, some sort of like a little fruit like that. They're a bit bitter, so I'm not saying they're not edible, but I wouldn't eat them right now. Maybe it's just a young tree. I haven't really quite figured out what kind of a tree it is. Again, I think it's a pear based on the type of leaves they have. I have another crepe myrtle here. This is one of my transplants I took from one of my other ones. I just kind of transplanted it from the ground and planted it, so it's still taking off pretty good. Another crepe myrtle over here, as well as that one right there. Now this one here is a shorter version. Crepe myrtles, they can be really tall, anywhere from 16 to 20 feet or higher. Some of it can be little small shrubs or bushes. This one, I want to say is about 8 feet tall, and it really hasn't, I've had this thing since, like I say, about 2004, 2005. It hasn't grown any higher. It pretty much stays at that height. This tree here, in the spring when the leaves start coming out, I'll show you that again. But this is a one of my neighbors had gave me this one. This is kind of like an Asian type tree. And this is only about 5 years old. I want to say approximately 5 years old. So this is how big it got. And when I first got it, it was only about 3 feet tall. Over here, again, I think this is a mulberry tree. If I remember right, I lost my tree identifier. This one I've had for about 5 years. Still growing, but not branching out as much as I wanted it to. So I'm going to try and see how it goes this year with some new gardening techniques that I've learned, more natural techniques. And if you look over here in this corner, you will see a pile of, I'm so sorry about the dogs, and she's poking her little head through. But over here you'll see this big old pile of grass clippings as well as leaves. My ground is extremely off level, so I kind of raked all that up and got grass clippings from neighbors as well as leaves, and I just piled it up there because I am trying to level it out more naturally without having to actually buy dirt. And it's actually leveling out pretty good so far. This main tree here is a maple tree, a silver maple tree. I've had that, like I say, since 2004. That one took off like crazy. Again, with the leaves, I'm just kind of using the leaves as a mulch. As you see, I got old leaves inside of there, as well as on the outside for the root the root cover. And over here, and again, you can't see it again, it is kind of late in the year. This vine that I have here is what they call a trumpet vine. Also, some people call it a hummingbird vine. Angel trumpet, they look like little angel trumpet. Mine is an orange variety. It is very, I guess you could say it's very prolific or fast grower. Once it does start growing, it does spread its seeds around quite a bit once it does seed. Every so often in the spring, I will get different little seedlings pop up throughout the yard. Again, with it being fall, it's, you ain't gonna see much right now. Oh, and this is my experiment, which I have no idea what this is. Somewhere earlier, a few months ago, I had got a vegetable tray from one of the convenience stores, and I'm thinking this is either a kiwi or a strawberry. I don't know if it's strawberry though, the things, but somewhere, I say this was about 4 months ago. I want to say I planted them about 4 months ago, some seeds in here to see if they would actually grow. And only about a month ago, I actually gave up on them. But what ended up happening, because I had them all here, I was actually going to dump my pot out and put it in the back for the soil to be used somewhere else. But I happened to see green leaves on there. So right now I cannot remember exactly which type of a seed this is, so I'm just gonna have to keep an eye on it. And now that it's getting cold, I do bring it in for the night, but I do let it outside for the sun. So so I think this is pretty much it for my front yard here. Again, I have 2 more crepe myrtles here on this side here. My intent is to shade the driveway. I just have to prune them a little bit to go over a little bit more. This one here is actually taken from down here at the bottom, and I transplanted that into a pot. And this is from this tree here. Now if you see here, this here is a little seed that has been growing. This is a baby mountain laurel. My grandkids have been taking the seeds and throwing them all over the place, which I don't mind. But it's kind of interesting. They just kind of pop up and they grow. See if I see any, the little red seeds that come off of that tree there. So this is my front yard. I have another crepe myrtle over here. This one here is actually an offshoot of this one, I believe, coming from the roots here. This crepe myrtle here. So I just kind of got it. I'm gonna have to fix that. The stake is kind of moving, but I had been cutting it down for a while, but then all of a sudden I'm just like, well, I might as well keep it because my other tree had died. So I'm going to push this one up, and it should want to get as big as that to shade this area here. So again, when I first moved here in 1998, there was actually no trees here whatsoever, and I didn't start planting until 2004. Now this previous spring, my front fence fell down. If you're wondering what this is about here, I had kind of a ditch that had been here because it had been dug out previously because the grass line got so thick. Because originally I have St. Augustine. St. Augustine grass is very thick grass that when it grows, it just thickens up and thickens up. So it was constantly making it hard for my door to open. I constantly had to lift up on it. So I'm trying to level this off, and then I'm going to remake my fence, but then I'm going to make it into a cement patio way right here, so that way when I do open my door, no grass, or the grass as it grows, there ain't no grass that's going to impede the opening and closing of my door. So this, hopefully in the next couple months, this should take about 2 to 3 months for this to drop down. It's starting to get wet, so it should decompose pretty quick. This tree here is a peach tree, and the story behind this peach tree is very kind of funny. My neighbors, when they used to buy peaches, they used to throw the seeds over their fence. They noticed one year that the peaches had grown from there. So they had dug out like 3 or 4 peaches from the other side of the fence, which is a wooded lot over there. And they asked me if I wanted a peach tree. So I had said yes. They took 2 and I took 1. And this one actually took. Their 2 did not make it. Theirs went through some sort of transplant shock, but mine actually took. And I want to say this tree here is about 7 years old. I want to say about 7 years old. And she's a little bit off pruned right now because she had actually she got overloaded with fruit, not this last year, but the year before, and had actually broke off a lot of the branches because she just got too much fruit. And this past spring, what I noticed, and I'll show you here in a minute, as she drops her seeds, and you will notice here, it might be a little bit dark now, but there are some seeds that are here. These ones I didn't take. But this last spring of 2020, I noticed that some of those seeds had actually sprouted into new trees. So I had actually taken about 15 of those and put them into pots. And some of them actually took, and some of them died. So out of 15, I actually had 8 that survived. 3 of those I gave to my neighbor because her family likes to plant trees as well, and since they are the ones who originally gave me the fruit tree in the first place, I figured I'd return a favor. This one here is an apple tree, and I cannot remember the name of this apple tree, but this is going to be an apple tree that hopefully will produce fruit for me. It's supposed to be a variety that's good down in this area. My previous experiences with apple trees did not make it, so I'm hoping this one will be a variety that makes it. I do need probably one more apple tree to be a co-pollinator for it. Now back here in my backyard, you will notice I've got a ton of leaves. The reason for that is because I am trying to improve the soil in my yard. Again, being in Texas, Texas has a high clay soil that is extremely hard to garden in unless you put a lot of topsoil, potting soil, or some sort of amendments in there, and it does take quite a while for it to amend the soil. Over the course of years, again, getting here in 1998, I originally had a garden back there, kind of where I do have that little section out there by the trellis, but I only did it 1 year. So there is a little bit of organic material in there that did kind of help. I did have a couple pear trees back here, but they died over the last 2 years, and I just dug them out this year. And this next coming spring to 2021, I do plan on planting some more trees. This particular tree is a bald cypress, or cypress. I believe it's called a cypress. It's more like a fir type tree. Not really a fir because it doesn't say, obviously it doesn't keep its leaves, but it does have these weird type of, there's a few of them left on here. They're kind of like little fern leaves, but they do fall off every year. But they're not a real heavy shaded tree where it provides a heavy shade, but it's still a cute little tree. It looks more like a little Christmas tree. This one here belongs to one of my daughters. This is her tree. And then this tree over here, the evergreen one over here, is a live oak tree. And that pretty much stays green all year long. It just kind of sheds its leaves and recoups itself. As you notice, there's a lot of leaves here. I'm making a compost bin there, obviously. The soil over in that area is kind of bad. So as the leaves decompose, little by little I'm taking them out so it doesn't overdo that particular area. So as you see, I'm moving the leaves around over there. There's leaves over here. I'm spreading them around throughout the rest of the yard. Over here, these are going to be my 2 vegetable gardens. What I did here is, this is pretty much all grass cuttings as well as leaves, and then I just put the, like when I find bags of leaves and stuff, I just kind of put that on there as a covering to make sure the leaves didn't blow away. And then I have like a mini compost bin here, and that's what I originally started it out with. This is just straight leaves and grass clippings, nothing else. I know a lot of people do kitchen scraps or whatever, but I haven't gone that far yet. Again, like I said, I'm trying to improve the soil, so as it had rained the last couple days, not a heavy rain, but just kind of like a fine rain, I guess you could say. little by little it got it wet enough where the leaves pretty much don't blow away. Then I opened this up a little bit to get some more wetness in there for the decomposition. Eventually what I plan on doing back here is get me 1 or 2 chickens, as well as maybe 1 or 2 rabbits. The reason for that is chickens, of course, for the eggs, as well as they do eat bugs. So any type of little bugs or snails or something, which I have a bad snail problem, hopefully they can take care of that for me and do the whole refertilizing of the yard as well during the summers and stuff like that. And over here in this other shed is a wood shed, which needs a lot of work as well because the roof kind of caved in on it, but the siding is good. I want to have the rabbits in. And what I'm going to do is, of course, put chicken wire or some sort of like wire fencing around, and then I also have to put predator wire down at the bottom underneath, so to prevent anything coming in and burrowing under. But if you notice, the roof is starting to fall apart, and then certain areas of the floor is kind of deteriorating where the rain has come in, so I'm going to have to change out my floor, redo that, maybe reinforce my walls a little bit. And then this will be my run for the rabbits. The leaves is to decompose, help the worms and the microbes in the soil to get my soil from a clay state to a more amended state of like worm castings and a more garden efficient type of soil that's more nutrient efficient. Over here, I have fruit trees, some more fruit trees. I have 2 plum trees. 2 plum trees here. These are my 2 plum trees. And then I have a pomegranate tree. This is my pomegranate. The story with this spot is I originally had a fig tree. There's a whole story behind my fig tree, and I will go into that in another video, but I did have to cut that tree down, and again I will go into that in another video. What I plan on doing here, if you see, there is a kind of like a pallet, a wood pallet under here that goes all the way to the end, and what I'm doing is trying to level this area off and kind of making this into like a porch area or a patio area, or maybe like a garden center where I might be able to put my garden bench or something to do my potting and stuff like that. This year, like I said, is my ground zero for my gardening. What I plan on doing is in the spring is kind of doing what they call a water infiltration test, but I have to wait until the ground is dry. What that means is because of the clay soil, water does not penetrate your soil all that well. So again, over the course of years, I have been little by little amending it with certain things. Some of it organic, some of it chemical based. I'm trying to go to all organic. So what I want to do is this coming spring, when it dries up, is do a water infiltration test on different parts of my yard, and then go from there like maybe twice a year, and then as each year goes to see how it improves based on the natural amendments that I use. Again, right now I'm just using leaves. I wanted to use wood chips, but around here wood chips are hard to come by. And again, if you try to use compost or going to the store and getting anything like garden soil or potting soil, those costs can add up. So I'm trying to use whatever is efficient in my area. And of course, a lot of people rake up their leaves and just put them out onto the curb. So this is a very easy way and cheap way to do that. Again, in the spring, I plan on doing vegetables. I plan on doing a couple more trees, as well as keep you up to date on how that goes. Thank you. Again, this is Life with Dani. You and your family have a wonderful and safe holiday season.